Hey there. Welcome to the Teams That Swear podcast. I'm Adrian Balarjan, author of Teams That Swear by Each Other, Not About Each Other. I believe the strength of any organization comes down to one thing: how well its people work together, and especially how their leadership team works as a group. Now, if you're looking for genuine strategies that actually work, you've come to the right place. This podcast is about cutting through the noise, getting to the heart of what makes teams tick, and giving you tools that you can use today. What's something you've avoided for way too long, but once you finally did it, changed everything? For me, that was reading Carol Dweck's Mindset. I've heard about it, quoted it, nodded along in conversations about it, but I hadn't properly sat down with it. Now I have, and even though I'm only halfway through, it's already reshaped how I think about leadership learning and what it really means to build teams that swear by each other, not about each other. Let me tell you what I mean. Mindset is one of those invisible forces that shapes everything. How we respond to failure, how we give and receive feedback, how we run meetings, even how we define success. It's the lens we don't even realize we're wearing. And that lens is either helping us or holding us back. Here's what Dweck's research says and why it matters more than ever. We all live somewhere between two mindsets, fixed and growth. The fixed mindset says, talent is born. You're either good at something or you're not. The growth mindset says, talent is built. With effort, feedback, and persistence, we improve. Now here's the kicker. The fixed mindset doesn't just make you risk averse. It makes you feedback avoidant, blame happy, and terrified of looking like you don't have all the answers. Now does that sound like the kind of leader that you'd want to follow? Some of Dweck's most powerful ideas hit hardest because they're simple and true. Here's a couple of them. Effort is what makes you smart or talented. Becoming is better than being. Excuses protect confidence. And my favorite one, failure has been transformed into an action. I failed, to an identity. I am a failure. That one is the silent killer in many leadership teams. Because when failure becomes identity, people stop trying. And when they stop trying, they stop learning. Dweck also talks about what she calls the CEO disease. Some of you can probably relate to this. When you're successful, people stop giving you feedback. You stop asking for it. You become protected, untouchable. And soon you become unqualified without realizing it. So if you're a senior leader, here's the question to sit with. What am I doing to stay qualified in my current role? Now here's another point from Dweck's book. Let's talk about the talent trap. You'll recall in the early 2000s, Enron, the corporate darling turned disaster, became a textbook example of what happens when a company overvalues talent and undervalues effort. They didn't just hire smart people. They created an environment that worshipped smartness. And what happens when everyone's trying to look smart? Well, no one admits any mistakes. No one grows. The fixed mindset takes hold. And the fraud that led to one of the largest bankruptcies in U.S. history becomes inevitable. Talent is valuable, don't get me wrong, but effort is scalable. Carol's research is clear. Students praised for effort were far more resilient, more creative, and more honest about failure. Students praised for talent gave up quicker and were more likely to lie about their performance. When it comes to the workplace, Carol found that leaders with a fixed mindset deprioritized development and stifled team growth. Leaders with a growth mindset coached, stretched, and empowered their people. So here's something to ask yourself. Might be one of those moments where you got to look in the mirror and be real. What are you reinforcing in your team? Talent or effort? Here's another insight I didn't expect. Belonging. Dweck really challenged my thinking on this one. I've always treated belonging as a team environment thing. But what if belonging is simply a mindset? What if believing you belong unlocks people's ability to perform? And what if our job as leaders isn't just to make space, but to install belief? Now, if you're nodding along, here are 3 questions I'd love you to reflect on. Where do you fall into a fixed mindset? Think about those times where you weren't thinking about possibilities. Question number 2. When do you protect your confidence instead of opening up to growth? Think about a situation where you had to protect your confidence. What was driving that? And the third question that you can throw at yourself, what does your team think you value more, their growth or their perfection? I'm going to wrap up with a formula that I've been using lately and a little bit of an add-on that's been inspired by Carol's work. I often say that performance equals potential minus interference. It's a classic executive coaching tool and exercise. But after reading Carol's book, I think performance equals potential minus interference plus effort plus coaching. You might want to write that one down. I'll say it again. Performance equals potential minus interference plus effort plus coaching. Now, I'm talking coaching. I'm not necessarily just talking about the type of coaching that I provide. This would be coaching that you provide for your people or that you receive from your leaders. Now, the goal of this equation is to eliminate interference, celebrate effort, offer coaching, and get the hell out of your own way. Now, if this got you thinking, then think about what your team could gain from these insights too. Because when you build a team that shares a growth mindset, something shifts. And not just in performance, but in trust, in energy, and in what becomes possible. And that's just one way how you can build teams that swear by each other and not about each other and truly shine. And it all starts with how you think. All right, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks for joining me on Teams That Swear. If today's conversation sparked a thought, a question, or maybe even a new perspective, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you're ready to transform how your team works together, reach out. I'd love to help. Because teams that swear by each other and not about each other don't happen by chance. They happen with intentional, deliberate action. And the first step starts with you.